From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
Tonight on News Hour, INEC says cash unavailability remains daunting challenge few days to elections. CBN governor says no going back on Naira deadline as policemen take over Apex Bank office in Ondo. EFCC says looters of state's resources behind protests sack calls. And on the foreign scene, 8,000 saved from Turkey-Syria earthquake rubble as death toll tops 37,000. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. The news in detail. Independent National Electoral Commission, resident electoral commissioner in charge of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Yahaya Bello, has reaffirmed to Nigerians the Commission's readiness for the 2023 general elections, but said that cash is the only challenge they will face in paying ad hoc staff during the election. Bello stated this at a North Central Stakeholder Roundtable on the 2023 general election. Noel Sampson reports.
The FCT rec, Yahaya Bello, said the scarcity of Naira, which makes cash unavailable, is one of the challenges the Commission is facing, though it is not peculiar with the FCT. He however reassured stakeholders that the Commission's chairman is meeting with all available stakeholders to make sure the problem is solved ahead of the elections.
The Commission has made a lot of preparations. A lot of the materials we needed, we already got them. We have done some trainings. We are doing more trainings. We have made a lot of consultation with stakeholders. We have moved, a lot of materials and batched them to the area councils, which is the local government level. When you talk about the challenge, believe me sincerely, the challenge to this election, as we are going about now, in the FCT, and by and large, I believe all over the nation, is a cash policy.
Is to have an interaction with the main stakeholders in the electoral circle, for instance, security agents, religious leaders, the political class, and voters themselves, including INEC, to judge on the preparation towards the election. Now, this is one of the activities we embarked on as an organization across the 6 geopolitical zone. Luckily for us, this is the last and the final one that we're having, and it seems that the reports we're getting and feelers we're getting from all of the zones seem to be the same thing. Citizens are concerned about their security. Citizens are concerned about the role of the political class in ensuring that when they come out on election day, that their votes will count.
The meeting provided opportunity for stakeholders to discuss problems and profile solutions.
It's a mandate to me, as in it's an opportunity for me, especially we the OIs, the original inhabitants of FCT, because most of our people live in the rural area. It's an opportunity for me, as in to grab a knowledge here, to take it down to them, to create awareness for them, despite the fact that election is around the corner.
The election is a very critical time in the affairs of every nation, most especially Nigeria, that is the giant of Africa. Today we have been made to understand that the election in Nigeria is not just about Nigeria, because the population of voters in Nigeria is equal to the population of the other nations in West Africa put together. That means this election is not just a national election, it's like the whole Central Africa.
The Electoral Commission has been meeting with critical stakeholders with a view to having a free, fair, and credible election. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
All right, we now have in the studio Faith Nwadishi, Executive Director, Center for Transparency Advocacy, to throw more insight into this development. Thank you for joining us on News Hour.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Good evening. All right, so now we actually have it that the INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner in charge of the Federal Capital Territory has actually said that everything is in order except the cash crunch. They will not be able to pay the ad hoc staff. If the INEC is actually complaining about the cash crunch, what will the ordinary, Nigerians actually say about it?
I guess you and I have been suffering from the same. And I said previously that the Naira seems to be the highest money exchange rate, because you now have almost 10% or more to exchange Naira for Naira in the country. So it's really a concern. Last week, the national chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Yakubu, met with the central bank governor. He had to meet with the central bank governor because it is an issue for concern that will help the elections. Now, what the REC said was that on the day of deployment of the ad hoc staff, they usually give them some stipend to help them, spend some money within the communities they're sending. And it's actually a no-brainer that you're sending somebody to the community, you need to give the person some money. You cannot perhaps transfer cash to the person to say, this is what you want to give to the person, and then the person will go looking for an ATM in a community to be able to do that. So it's important that INEC is having access to cash. Another fundamental thing that maybe he didn't say was for voters themselves. On the day of election, even though they have created more polling units, people still need to commute to polling units to be able to do that. And if they don't have cash to be able to do that, some of them may not even bother to come out on election day.
Okay, so how much of a threat is this cash crunch, to the successful conduct of the elections? And what do you suggest the Central Bank of Nigeria should do to avert the threat, if there's any?
It's a huge one. Not only the whole idea about the Naira exchange was, some school of thoughts have said, oh, it's going to help checkmate vote buying. But again, on the other hand, you have somebody who has been trying to get the new 1,000 Naira notes, and there could be somebody on the polling unit on the day and is having 200 Naira or even the old 100 Naira notes, and the person can easily be enticed to want to collect that money. So it's important that now it is just about 10 days to the election, that the central bank makes money available for people. People should be able to go to the ATMs and collect money, and then checkmate the activities of the POS operators across the country, because they have sat down by themselves and put exchange rate on that, making it more difficult for people to have access to even the Naira. You have to buy Naira. That's why the exchange rate for Naira is over 10. Some people are collecting 20%, even as high as 30% to be able to collect that. Over the weekend, my staff in the office wanted to collect 5,000 Naira. She was made to pay 1,500 Naira in Abuja. So, and you can imagine what is happening to the people at the community level. The money is not there. Central bank needs to urgently make money available for people at the community level. If really we want to check the issue of vote buying, let people have access to cash that they will use for election and the period before election, so as to stop to a great extent the fact that people will be looking up to politicians to collect money on election day. Because I tell you, some people will just go out on election day just for the sake of collecting the new Naira notes.
Okay. All right, well, I think that's all we can actually take at this time. Thank you so much for spending time with us on News Hour this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
All right, so that was Faith Nwadishi, Executive Director, Center for Transparency Advocacy, throwing more insight into the development of a cash crunch. Now let's move on to more stories. The Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, says there is no need to shift the February 10 deadline for the use of the old Naira notes, as the Apex Bank will address the new note supply shortage. Emefiele disclosed this while briefing the diplomatic community at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja on Tuesday. The clarification is coming on the heels of uncertainty over the Supreme Court order, which extended the deadline to February 15, pending hearing on the matter. Nigerians have been thrown into confusion as commercial banks refuse to take the old notes at their branches on Monday. Emefiele, who acknowledged the suffering of Nigerians due to the policy, however, noted that effective implementation could scrap 4% of the inflation numbers. Armed policemen have taken over the premises of the Central Bank of Nigeria, located in Alagbaka area of Akure, the Ondo State capital, following a siege on the facility by some bank customers. Scores of aggrieved bank customers had in the early hours of Tuesday stormed the CBN office following the refusal of many commercial banks in the state capital, Akure, to swap the old notes with the newly redesigned Naira. The customers, who included commercial motorcyclists and drivers, traders, civil servants, businessmen and women, had besieged their various banks in exchange for the old notes for the new ones, but were turned back by the officials. The residents complained that the automated teller machines of commercial banks were still dispensing the old notes. A CBN official in Akure told reporters that the Apex Bank would soon issue a statement directing the banks to start collecting the old notes from the customers. An election-focused group comprising of experts have fainted possible scenarios from the forthcoming election, asking politicians not to indulge in divisive rhetoric that will further polarize the country. At an interactive session organized by Media Trust, the experts advised electorates to consider merit, not primordial sentiments, while making electoral choice. Kabir Lawal has more.
This year's general election is few days away, and the Media Trust Group convened the interactive forum for experts from various fields to discuss on issues and come up with different scenarios on the likely outcomes of the polls. Members of the discussion panel called on politicians not to be power drunk, but see themselves as elected to serve the people. Professor Jibril Ibrahim speaks further.
Power is enormous, and the capacity to do harm or to do good is enormous, and therefore the struggle for those seats become really a fight to finish.
Jide Ojo, a political commentator, said that elections are successful when the process is transparent to allow people accept the outcome.
Youth will determine to a very large extent the electoral outcome of 2023 general elections. Because when you had about 40% of Nigerian registered voters who are 18 to 34, and you had that to the 35 to 49 who are middle age, that gives you about 75% of the voting population.
The panel members called on politicians to provide the voting public with adequate and honest information on their policies and programs for them to make democratic choice.
Yes, I think it is because of the agitation for inclusiveness. The agitation for inclusiveness is usually driven by elite women, and they usually do so in their own interest. So they have been canvassing for 35% so that they are the ones at the end of the day that will come and get such positions.
The panel then called on electorate not to consider ethnicity, religion, and region or monetary incentives as they go out to vote in the 2023 general elections. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Still on Naira redesign, the discontent arising from the scarcity of Naira notes continue to grow across the country. Fruit sellers in Gombe State say the cashless policy is affecting their businesses negatively. Trust TV's Ibrahim Ismail says the fruit sellers are struggling to grasp transacting in a cashless business environment. The report.
Scarcity of the Naira notes is punching hard on small-scale businesses in Gombe State. Some of these adversely affected are traders of perishable goods. Saadu Salisu is a fruit seller in Gombe Metropolis. He said scarcity of the Naira is taking a toll on his businesses and he does not have access to mobile banking. The reason why I don't receive transfer is that I don't have an account, and this has been affecting our businesses seriously. Our business services have dwindled by almost 50%. We pray that God will help us to have something to feed our families. Other fruit sellers agree that life has been very difficult since the unveiling of the cash swap policy program. The customers insist on paying through bank transfer always, and my bank account has some problem. I don't used to see alerts. The policy has affected our businesses. Customers always prefer transfer, and if they did, we can't get the cash at hand, and I'll have nothing to go and buy new products. And the village people don't have accounts. You can't do mobile banking transfer to buy the fruit from the villagers. It can't happen. This is a setback to our business. Scarcity of the naira and ineffective mobile banking services is worsening the already harsh economic conditions these Nigerians have to contend with. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
The continued scarcity of naira notes in Nigeria is crippling several businesses, especially in the formal sector. Analysts are estimating a 20% drop in sales for consumer goods and 30% for cement manufacturers as the shortage of fuel and new notes worsens. In Katsina, residents go extra mile for queuing up all night to sleep in at ATM centers in the state just to get a hold of the new notes. Jamil Mabai reports.
It is 12 in the morning and ATMs are already crowded as customers leave their comfort zones to spend the night at the ATM centers. Despite extending the deadline, people in Katsina are finding it difficult to get cash, as the state with more than 7 million people has less than 15 commercial banks. Banks are overwhelmed as crowds beseech them on daily basis for cash. Elsewhere, businesses are recording huge financial losses as lack of purchasing power from customers has created an unpleasant reality as described by Soraja Saeed.
Yanzu jiya shekaran jiya ranar Friday na je na cike tela a banki sai aka ban 10,000.
On Friday, I filled a bank teller. They gave me 10,000 naira. Somebody that will go to the market to buy bags of grain, what will 10,000 naira do? These people at rural areas will not accept transfer. That is why it has affected us. I was with a colleague at the market. We went with the intention to transfer money. He has the means to buy 100 bags. He bought only 6. The cashless policy is designed to reduce the amount of cash outside the banking system. But absence of cash means retail grain sellers like Lamis and Muhammad, whose businesses rely on cash for restocking, will suffer. Common sense will not take it. No one in the village will give you goods worth 2 to 3 million naira and you just give him numbers. It is insane. How can you leave your business, join a queue just to remove 20,000? We have to stay back and serve our customers. Poor network for digital transactions and limit to cash withdrawal has affected businesses and even students. Muhammad Adam, who skipped classes for a week, laments that his final year project will surely be affected. I have not attended classes for a week. I am writing my project, but I don't have the peace of mind to continue, and time is fast approaching. I don't have money to pay for my expenses to complete the project. Point of sale operators have been accused of charging customers exorbitant commissions. For instance, a 10,000 naira withdrawal attract a 2,000 naira commission instead of the 100 naira that was the charge before the naira redesign. To many residents of Katsina, extending the deadline for the stoppage of the use of the older versions of the redesigned naira note means more scarcity, more queues, and more sleepless nights. Jamil Mobai, Trust Television, Katsina.
Really sad one there. Everything will stabilize soon. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has vowed to prosecute point-of-sale operators who collect exorbitant charges for transactions. The CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele said this on Tuesday in his meeting with members of the diplomatic corps at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He said those to be sanctioned are operators charging above 200 naira in the cash swap program. While acknowledging the inconveniences caused by the naira redesign policy, including hoarding and an elevated agitation, Emefiele promised to prosecute POS operators who charge above the stipulated amount. Emefiele admitted that while these are challenging times for Nigerians, they shouldn't be exaggerated, especially by people in authority, to create panic. President Muhammadu Buhari has been advised to urgently take appropriate steps to address the naira scarcity in the country before it ruins the nation's economy. The Chief Whip of Osun State House of Assembly, Babatunde Lekon Olatunji, who gave the advice, lamented that the naira scarcity has disrupted many businesses and subjected Nigerians to untold hardship. Olatunji, who represents Ife North State constituency, posited that the naira redesign is a good policy, but faulted the implementation and appealed to President Buhari to act on time to end the suffering of Nigerians, especially the downtrodden.
It is not enough for the CBN to have a very good intention. There is that burden on CBN to ensure that implementation of the policy is as good as the intention in itself. Someone once said that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So it is not just about designing a program, it's about ensuring that in the course of implementing that program, the purpose for which it was designed is met in the overall interest of the people. And of course, what Nigeria is actually trying to do with naira redesigning is not novel. We are not the first country in the world that will implement that.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on Tuesday took a swipe at civil society organizations demanding the sack of its chairman, Abdulrasheed Bawa, over alleged contempt of court. The anti-graft agency called on the Nigerian public to disregard the protests, which it alleged were being sponsored by persons under investigation. The EFCC said it will not be distracted by plots to derail the commission from doing its work. Addressing journalists at the headquarters of the commission in Abuja, the spokesman for the anti-graft agency, Wilson Iwujiren, maintained that those demanding Bawa's sack would fail, as the commission has never and will not take any step that would undermine the judiciary. Zamfara state government on Tuesday asked non-governmental organizations operating in the state to leave the state immediately. In a statement signed by the State Commissioner of Security on Home Affairs, Ibrahim Mamman, the state government said it has observed the recent high influx of non-governmental organizations into the state. The government said the NGOs are carrying out illegal activities that contravene the existing laws of the government. The statement further said NGOs have also been found to be engaging in activities fueling insecurity in the state and its neighborhood. It said security agencies in the state are directed to investigate and prosecute any NGO operating in the state without due clearance from designated authorities. Moving to security, the Rivers State Police Command said its operatives shot a suspected kidnapper dead, while another was arrested during a raid of criminal hideouts in Ndoki waterfront in Port Harcourt. Spokesperson of the command, Grace Iringe Koko, who disclosed this in a statement in Port Harcourt on Tuesday, said one of the suspects was shot dead during a gun battle with the police. Iringe Koko said operatives attached to the C4I unit launched the operation following a tip-off, adding that arms and ammunition, including an AK-47 and a revolver, were recovered from the arrested suspect. You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, how naira scarcity puts a damper on Valentine's Day celebration. Stay with us.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
At last, the elections are here. Let's turn out en masse on election day and vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as President of Nigeria for a renewed hope and a better Nigeria. Vote APC, the party that shows a broom.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secured are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Or really, if you look at England squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining us, you're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Here's a recap of our major stories. You heard that INEC says cash unavailability remains daunting challenge few days to election. We also told you that CBN governor says no going back on Naira deadline as policemen take over Apex Bank office in Ondo State. Moving to other stories, President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration says it is documenting its overall achievements for the sake of posterity, despite growing concerns over abysmal performance amongst sections of Nigerians. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, who made remarks while presenting his ministry's scorecard, also says the Buhari government succeeded in changing negative narrative against the successes of nation's armed forces in dealing with insecurity. Trust TV's Shafi'u Suleiman reports.
While Nigerians continue to grumble over the harsh economic realities and devastating insecurity, Lai Mohammed says posterity will be kind to the administration for recording unprecedented achievements in the face of mounting challenges.
The scorecard presentation designed for honorable ministers and other top government officials to tell Nigerians what they have done in their various sectors. The testimony series that provides the platform for ordinary Nigerians to say how they have been impacted by the various policies and programs of the administration.
Mohammed says under his watch, the Ministry of Information has changed dangerous narrative around fight against insurgents in the Northeast, making it difficult for the fighting forces to earn public confidence and support.
To know what the administration was doing to rescue the Chibok girls, we decided to take some of their members, as well as local and international journalists, to Yola, from where we embedded them with the Nigerian Air Force, which flew them on search sorties over the Sambisa forest between February 16th and 17th, 2017.
The minister highlighted the impact of his ministry in showcasing hidden impacts of the administration in the areas of infrastructure, agriculture, while bridging communication gap between the government and the citizenry.
To date, 22 town hall meetings have been held across the six geopolitical zones of the country. A special edition of the town hall meeting for youths was held in Abuja. Other thematic areas included revamping the economy, provision of infrastructure, boosting agriculture, fight against corruption.
As the PMB administration scorecard series end, concerns also remain over public outcry against harsh monetary and economic policies imposed on the people. Shafi'u Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Thank you, Shafi'u, for that report. Now we'll move on to politics. President Muhammadu Buhari has assured Nigerians that the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate Bola Tinubu will succeed him as the president of Nigeria. The president, who was in Owerri, capital of Imo State, for the APC presidential campaign rally, also commissioned the MCC Urata Road, a project recently completed by the Imo State government. He also held a meeting with the Council of Traditional Rulers, where he tasks them to always ensure peace and security in their domain. At the rally, President Buhari appreciated the massive crowd of supporters who converged on the stadium venue of the rally, assuring them that the APC will not only win in the state, but also win the presidency. The state governor, Senator Hope Uzodinma, said that Imo State will not forget the development strides under President Buhari's administration, which is why the large crowd of supporters came to appreciate him. Presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, promised the people that the developmental strides being witnessed in the state would be continued under his administration.
APC! Aswaju, I am here, ladies and gentlemen, to thank you very much for exposing yourself to the weather for so long to make sure that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been delivered by our great party as the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We are not seeking the booty of office to assist for a good life. We are going to prudently manage and increase your revenue generation capacity. Imo State will bring a modern economy, peace and unity of this country will remain one. We will continue to work with the state to eliminate violent crimes and inhumanity to man.
The Nigeria Fulani Political Forum, a Fulani pressure group, has declared its support for the People's Redemption Party presidential candidate, Mr. Kola Abiola, in the upcoming February 25th election. The NFPF leader, Dr. Ibrahim Abdullahi, stated that the Fulani community has 7 million votes which they plan to cast in favor of Abiola. He criticized the ruling APC for neglecting the pastoralist Fulani and affirmed that the nomads will support a candidate who addresses their issues regardless of ethnicity and religion. The PRP presidential candidate also faulted the implementation of the cashless policy as being devoid of inclusiveness.
We are tired of the old brigade. We have not seen any difference between the ruling APC and the PDP. It's the same people, the same culture, the same injustice if Nigerians make mistake this time around to vote for those people. Now, what we are hoping for is a change, a complete change. And in Kola Abiola, we see a gentleman that can be able to drive Nigeria forward.
I think it's a very bad timed, not so much timed, but more implemented policy. You see, what has happened is a collective mess. You have a situation where you wait too late, and it was not really thought out. Your banks cannot cope with the influx. You don't have enough out there. Many of our citizens are not even in the banking system. If you're in a village or a local government that doesn't have a bank, how do you change money? How do you take that money back? So you need to be inclusive first before you now try to bring a policy that is inclusive. We're not even inclusive yet. So how do they begin to transact? That's one. Two, the banking softwares, the fintech softwares are not robust to even take the volume of activity that you are forced to now do online.
Moving on to electoral matters, the Nigerian Army on Tuesday assured Nigerians of a peaceful conduct of the forthcoming general elections in the country. The General Manager, the General Officer Commanding 3 Division Nigerian Army, Major General Abdusalami Ibrahim, stated this at the inauguration of the division's operational planning training exercise in Bauchi. He said the Army had prepared its personnel and operatives of sister security agencies for the conduct of a hitch-free election exercise. The GOC, represented by Major General Eyitayo Oyinlola, described the training exercise as timely and urged the participants to remain professional in the discharge of their duties. He said the exercise would prepare officers within its area of responsibility for the task ahead to ensure hitch-free election. He said the exercise was in tune with the vision of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, of professional Nigerian Army ready to accomplish assigned missions within a joint operation in defense of the country. Ahead of the 2023 general elections scheduled to kick off on February 25th across the country, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Al-Alibaba, on Monday disclosed that the police have intelligence that Oduduwa Nation agitators have been amassing weapons and mobilizing resources towards disrupting the peace, security and electoral process in the southwest geopolitical zone. Baba made the revelation while addressing commissioners of police and Assistant Inspector General of Police ahead of the elections. He said illegal small arms and light weapons trafficking are being utilized to advance political violence, political extremism and intolerance, while cyberbullying for political ends is on the rise daily. The police boss tasked the strategic police managers to safeguard the public space for elections in active synergy with other security agencies. The IGP also warned all officers to remain apolitical to ensure free, fair and credible elections. Ahead of the February 25th and March 11 elections, the federal government has ordered the closure of all polytechnics in the country. The directive was issued by the Minister of Education, Adamu Adamu, in a letter signed by an official of the ministry, I.O. Folorunsho. The letter, which was made available to journalists in Abuja, was addressed to the Executive Secretary of the National Board for Technical Education, Idris Bugaji. The minister directed that the instruction be conveyed to rectors and provosts of all polytechnics, adding that academic activities should be stopped between February 22nd and March 14th, 2023. The National Universities Commission had ordered the closure of universities across the country within the same period to enable students to participate in the February 25th and March 11th general elections. On a sad note, a 14-year-old boy, Ashfa Ibrahim, on Monday got drowned in an open stream at Nzaiki village in Gezawa local government area of Kano State. This is contained in a statement signed by the spokesperson of the State Firefighting Department, Saminu Abdullahi, and made available to newsmen in Kano on Tuesday. The statement indicated that a distress call from one Ibrahim Abdullahi was received and rescue team was dispatched to the scene. The victim was later confirmed dead by a team of medical doctors at the Gezawa General Hospital. According to him, the victim slipped and fell inside the open water, sustaining injuries on his body. He said the corpse had been handed over to the ward head of Nzaiki village, Muhammad Abdul Karim, for onward delivery to the parent of the deceased for burial. The firefighting department has forwarded the case to the police for discreet investigation to ascertain the cause of the incident for proper action. Residents of Makurdi, the Benue state capital, have lamented the law that characterized the 2023 Valentine's Day celebration in the state. According to them, The cash crisis occasioned by the CBN new Naira notes policy negatively affected the glitz and glamour that usually comes with the day. Jimmy Adzande reports.
The usual glamour that graced Valentine's Day was not seen in most of the places around Makurdi town at the time of this report. Instead, it was like any other day in a new economy where cash crunch has hold sway. This year, traders who usually record improved sales have different stories altogether.
Today is very, very poor. And the crisis of this money, new and old money, we are finding it difficult to sell. Manage, but there is no sales. Hoping maybe tomorrow will be better than today. The matter of this old and new money, we are tired of it. The government to just realize and settle this issue once and for all. If we are using the old money, they should tell us we are using the old money. If we are using the new money, they should tell us that we are using the new money, because right now we are totally confused whether it's to accept the old one or the new one. In short, we don't know where we belong for now.
Some residents blame the situation on the ongoing cash crisis in the country.
And even doing transaction on mobile phones is as difficult as we experienced days back. So I don't think this Valentine will be as normal as we celebrated.
Cashless policy has actually affected the economy, especially on this Valentine Day. So many businesses are down because of this policy. Business don't move in because people don't have money to make transactions. So it has affected the celebration of this Valentine. So many people don't have the money to celebrate the event. So, and also, banks are not working. So to some extent, somebody will have money in his or her account, but to withdraw it will be a problem.
No, now the thing is, I believe it will actually affect, because getting gifts and cash and all, and people that actually do this stuff called is it money bouquet, so it will actually affect them a lot. But I don't know the vow at all. Vow. This year's vow is just, it's not Valentine.
As at the time of this report, some traders declined collecting the old denominations of the 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira notes. With the unavailability of the new notes and poor network for internet banking, most of the residents said life has become unbearable and considered a feast of St. Valentine as a list of things to be worried about.
As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark this year's Valentine's Day, the celebrations were calm across Yola, unlike previous years. Silas Lowen reports that the cash crunch affected this year's Valentine's celebration, as loved ones could barely exchange gifts due to the unavailability of cash in the country. The report.
Although the festival involves rituals such as exchange of love notes and other such items like cards and gifts that express love for one another, many said they shifted such display of affection due to the cash crunch. Others, especially women, said they sent and received only text messages, a situation they described unusual.
Val is very important because it's very special, because a lot of people will be today they will propose to a lot of people, and Val was initially made for lovers. And why youth love Val is because it increases, like recharging of your love. It's like a little recap of how you started.
He said, well, he will not forget me, and I'm very important to him. And he's very happy with me because we are together since.
The day, many believe, is one that offers lovers the opportunity to express love for each other through gifts and greetings. But according to these respondents, the current economic reality forbids unnecessary spending.
This Valentine's Day is very significant in my life because I do normally celebrate it, even though this year's celebration is somehow because of the economic hardship of the country. No enough currency, so we decided to suspend the celebration with my wife, but I wanted to celebrate.
Yes, I celebrated Val because I have to be loved and I need to be loved of someone, so that's the reason why today is Val and it's all Lovers Day. So I pray and I'm happy. I wish all the Muslim, the Christian, all Nigeria happy birthday.
I love you so much. And 89%.
I'm actually also celebrating Val today, but there was a little issue between me and my girlfriend. Though it was not a fight, we decided to, instead of celebrating our own Val today, we decided to shift it to another special day, because if you look at today, there won't be as in space for you to be able to as in have the special time and also spend time with each other the way you want, because everywhere is tight and everywhere is busy.
This year's Valentine's celebration recorded a low turnout as many business outlets like supermarkets, parks, recreational centers, and restaurants did not witness the boom that comes with occasions like Valentine, a situation stakeholders say may not be unconnected with the current economic realities. Silas Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. More stories shortly.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Ina kake dan Najeriya? Baka da labarin Jagaba Ahmad Bola Tinubu a yanzu shike gaba kan gaba a cikin 'yan takara a ƙasar Najeriya dake da sassanin asalin sanin makaman mulki da kuma samun da waraka ga rayuwar al'ummar Najeriya. Jagaba shike da sassanin asalin sanin hanyoyin tattalin arzikin ƙasa a Najeriya. Jagaba Bola Ahmad Tinubu magabata suka ce shi a ƙwararren direban da zai ceto rayuwar al'ummar Najeriya a shekara ta 2023. Ya batun dawo da martabar ilimi, noma, kiwo da batun tsaro a Najeriya ya game da samarwa matasa ayyukan yi maganin fatara da zaman kashe wando. Haka ina ga batun daidaito a tsakanin kabilu da mabiya addini daban-daban a ƙasar Najeriya. Nan ma magabata suka ce Jagaba shi ke kan gaba. To yanzu dan masani ina mafita hanya tsani domin a barje a baya? Amsar dai ita ce Jagaba Bola Ahmad Tinubu shine kan kat cikin dubun dubatan 'yan takara a Najeriya da ke neman shugabancin ƙasa daga kanshi sai dai ka sha wafa.
Wannan sako ne daga sashen tsare-tsare da sadarwa na kwamitin yakin neman zaben shugaban ƙasa na jam'iyyar APC.
Allah mu ne gaba. Jagaba shi da Allah mu ne gaba.
Welcome back. Let's now join Chiamaka Nwafo for business news.
Nigeria and Angola contributed to the increase in crude oil output for OPEC 13 members in January of 2023. This is according to OPEC's monthly oil market report. Angola's crude oil output increased from 1.088 million barrels per day in December of 2022 to 1.105 million barrels per day in January of 2023, while Nigeria's crude oil output increased from 1.235 million barrels per day in December 2022 to 1.258 million barrels per day in January of 2023. The report also stated that the total OPEC 13 crude oil production averaged 28.88 million barrels per day in January 2023, which is lower by 49,000 barrels per day on a month-to-month basis. The Debt Management Office, DMO, has announced the results of the February 2023 FGN bond auction. The auction featured the reopening of 4 bonds: the 13.98% FGN February 2028 10-year bond, 12.50% FGN April 2032 10-year bond, 16.2499% FGN April 2037 20-year bond, and 14.80% FGN April 2049 30-year bond. The auction, which was held on February 13, 2023, saw a total of 577 bids worth 724.9 billion naira received for the total offered amount of 360 billion naira. The total amount allotted was 771.56 billion naira, with successful bids allotted at marginal rates of 13.99%, 14.90%, 15.90%, and 16%. The settlement for the auction was February 15, 2023, and the bonds will mature on February 23, 2028, April 27, 2032, April 18, 2037, and April 26, 2049, respectively. Finally, in stocks, the Nigerian exchange closed positive amidst buy interest and sell-offs as bulls dominated proceedings driving up the broad market. The all-share index appreciated by 0.24% to close at 54,496.31 points. In the same vein, market capitalization increased by 72 billion naira to close at 29.682 trillion naira. Market break closed negative as Triple G led 17 gainers and 19 losers, topped by Internegens at the end of Tuesday's session. An aggregate of 177.9 million units of shares were traded in 3,617 deals valued at 5.7 billion naira. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Nwafo.
Thank you, Chiamaka, for that report. Now we move on. President Muhammadu Buhari has called for a lifting of the blanket visa ban clamped down on Nigerians by the government of the United Arab Emirates. The president made the call on Monday during a telephone conversation with the president of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, who doubles as the Emir of Abu Dhabi. President Buhari had called Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan to condole with him on the death of his mother-in-law, Sheikha Maryam Al Falasi, during which important issues of mutual concern between the two countries came up. The president requested his UAE counterpart to review the blanket visa ban imposed on Nigerians intending to travel to the UAE, calling that mutual beneficial relations have subsisted between the two nations over many years, symbolized by robust economic interactions and regular consultations on matters of common interest, including engagements at the highest political levels. He noted that recent irritants in bilateral relations generated by consular issues relating to the behavior of some Nigerians in the UAE are being ironed out, explaining that no country, including Nigeria, will condone criminalities and illegal behaviors. From the foreign scene, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says more than 8,000 people have been pulled out alive from rubble in Turkey and expressed gratitude to all countries that came forward to provide support after the quakes. Reports say death toll from earthquakes have exceeded 37,000. Turkish authorities say 31,974 people have been killed in the country, while according to the UN and the Syrian government, more than 8,500 people are dead. In Syria, Syrian President al-Assad agrees to let the UN deliver aid to rebel-held parts of northwest Syria through 2 more border crossings from Turkey. The UN's decision to seek al-Assad's permission has sparked criticism from the White Helmets rescue group. Let's now join Adeni Ajishafe for more news.
Nigeria representative at the ongoing African Cup for Clubs Hockey Championship in Kenya, Police Machine, started off their campaign on a winning note as the team beat their Tanzania opponent, Mochi Kazad, 9-1. The Nigerian team, which placed 4th at the last edition in Accra, Ghana, made good their intent of grabbing a spot this time in Kenya and will be hoping to carry their fine form to their next level. And in basketball, the Basketball African League BAL have announced Nigeria representative Kwara Falcons among the top 12 club teams from 12 African countries that will compete in the 2023 BAL season. The 12 teams include defending BL champion US Monastir of Tunisia, and 5 other teams returning from the 2022 season. 5 teams will compete in the BL for the first time, which include Abidjan Basket Club of Cote d'Ivoire, Al Ahly of Egypt, City Oilers of Uganda, Kwara Falcons of Nigeria, and Stade Malien of Mali. AS Douanes of Senegal returns to the BL after participating in the inaugural season in 2021. The 12 teams will once again be divided into 2 conferences, namely the Sahara Conference and the Nile Conference. Each conference will play a 15-game group phase during which each team will face the other 5 teams in its conference once. The Sahara Conference's group phase will take place at the Dakar Arena in Senegal from March 11 to 21st, while the Nile Conference's group phase will take place at Azam Mustafa Indoor Sports Complex in Cairo, Egypt, from April 26 to May 6th. The top 4 teams from each conference will qualify for the BL playoffs and finals, which will feature a single elimination tournament at BK Arena in Kigali, Rwanda, from May 21st, 2023. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajishafe.
And with that, we wrap up News Hour on Trust TV. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.